Yes.
Okay, great. So this is the third part video, continuation, talking about the striking, and then we're going to talk about stances. I want to start with a shout out, a little kind of silent prayer for Adonis Stevenson, who is still in a medically induced coma following that brutal knockout on the 2nd. So I didn't know that he was still in a medically induced coma. I saw the original knockout. It's really, really sad. So I want to say something about safety. There's a tendency, especially when men are young, they got a lot of chi, we just throw on some gloves, let's just go hit each other. Let's talk about things. You need to wear a mouthpiece if you're going to spar with your friends. And I definitely recommend a helmet. When you detach someone's brain, it causes swelling, and the swelling can actually be the thing that kills them. And plus, if there's a weakness in the structure, you can induce an aneurysm. I actually have my childhood best friend, his father was beaten by a cop, and a few weeks later he died of an aneurysm. So these things, they can come along later, and you just want to take really good precautions. I also don't recommend that you have friendly sparring contests with rivals, and that's more common in like college age groups, right? Everybody wants to show off. They want to show off for girls and stuff. They punch a little harder, and it's just not very safe. Also, you should get wraps if you're going to seriously spar. I mean, if you're just throwing on and hitting each other a little bit, it's no big deal, but you could sprain your wrist. Before I do the modifications of these, I just wanted to talk about the stances. So an orthodox stance in Western boxing looks like this. Now, some people, they pull it in, but actually this is a kind of a guard. So it's just like this with the right leg back. And I call it orthodox because most people are right hand. You can obviously fight just as good southpaw, but a really good southpaw is actually a little bit more, I think there's a little bit more twist to give them a little bit of extra oomph. But pretty much they're pretty much mirrors. In my mind, you should be able to do both. And what I really want to do is I want to use this stance to organize him, and then when I get him moving, then I'll switch on him. And when I switch on him, then it changes the distances. And so I want to use it to adjust the angle. That's how I think you should properly use the switch from orthodox to southpaw. What I see in Western style boxing is they'll be like this, and then if they switch at all, they'll do it from about this far away, and or they'll do it between rounds, which I think is useless. Okay, so this is definitely a technology that I want to see boxers start picking up from martial arts. In martial arts, you definitely want to switch right in from one into the other in order to control the distance and also to control the angle. You can even use it to disrupt the timing, and sometimes that means you can use the shuffle step, and other times it could be you get him going and you cut him off from the escape this way, then he starts to move the other way, and then you switch back. You see that? I've caught him now in here in my southpaw. Right, so if he's over here and then he's wanting to circle around and I cut him off, now he starts to go the other way, I switch and I've got him. Now I've got my heat sink on, boom, and I've got my crosses perfectly aligned. As far as, so I'm going to talk about the other three in the next video, but we're going to talk about the karateka stance. So when you see most people try to use a karateka stance in the street, they kind of look like goofballs. I saw one video and a guy was like back here like this. This is a Hollywoodized stance. This is not going to be effective because it's double weighted. So that's not what I mean by a good karateka stance, and neither is this one. Okay, now it's very old school in a lot of ways like this. However, it's not really what I mean. What I mean is something a little bit more like this. Okay, and it's a power stance. You'll see it among Jim Kelly uses it in Enter the Dragon. It's a good power stance, and it's deceptive because I'm using a little bit of faking the distance here, and then I have a guard here. So if he decides to come around, I got my block, and because I'm loaded 60-40, it's like in Shini, that the Sandi stance, except here, because I have the bent knee, I can protect against any kind of chop to the tree. I can turn this out like that, or I can burst and come off. But I can also come up and go forward really fast. Bruce Lee uses this stance really similar. All right, so remember this list from last week? these were all of our standard hits. I just want to quickly go over the Kung Fu and Street Fighter modifications. Okay? So for the flip jab, if you remember, was like that, right? But in Kung Fu, what we do is just a straight back fist. Now, most people, they think of a back fist and they go like this. There's a lot of telegraphing in that. So if I go like this, he just puts his arm up. That's not going to be good. So like the flip jab, which is like this back fist goes straight there, right to the temple. So I'm lining up, boom, and it's in there before he knows it. And it's really good if I can wrap on that hand. So we're moving, boom, it's in there. So it's similar to the flip jab. You can do the flip jab the same way, where you grab it and you flip. We would call that a monkey technique. Okay, same thing. In street fighting, what I want you to think about is the how do you say it? So put your arms up, okay? Yeah, that way. So let's see. So I want to get to where I can grab him by the head, but in the beginning I might have to grab here. Boom. Okay. But any kind of grab you can do is it's gonna dirty up the fight a little bit. So you're right there. That's what I want. Now, when I talk about the normal, like fencing jab goes forward, the only difference here, so the original Western one is go forward like that. In the Kung Fu, it comes from a little lower. And it moves just like a piston. And as you see, the standard in Kung Fu is to make it vertical. Now, why do we make it vertical? In a fist, the deltoid is a really weak ligament. So when we punch, if we punch sideways, it tends to roll off, and then you can get what's called a boxer fracture on this infraorbital ridge. When we punch vertical, it tends not to roll as easily. Of course, if I do this, of course it can roll, or if I'm for some reason like this, which is not correct at all. But if I can throw it vertical, then it can stay more in the line. Whereas if I punch here, if I roll off of those teeth, it's almost certainly going to tear my wrist. So anyways, back to the piston. Pardon me. Tighten that for me. When I do that piston, what I want to do is load it up from that stance. And then if I can grab here, or if I can 1, 2, grab in, or if I can shift, or even grab here. Okay? And then again, like that. That's what I mean by a piston. It should go in and come out. That's a little bit different. It's not exactly different, it's just a little different. For the street fighting, the jab is pretty much the same. But for the fencing version, what we want is kind of a jab into a hook. Okay? So it's like a jab, hook. Jab, hook. Like that. It's kind of a nasty thing to do. And if you can add brass knuckles, that's good. That could be your modification if you want. Right? But it's not legal to carry pretty much anywhere. So, pretty much for your house. You can do iron hand, and you can make your knuckles really a lot harder. Now, going into the crosses, for our modification for the cross, for Kung Fu, what we want to say is we want to increase the rotation. So I'm going to switch things here. So we already have rotation here, but in Kung Fu we would want to say we want to put even more twist in it this way. And even if I can put twist on the fist to go a little bit further, so it twists that way. See that? It's almost like it's an overhand, but it's just a cross. And it can fit right inside of that area. There was just a great knockout Saturday night, 44 seconds in the first round, SI-17 knockout. Right? The guy loaded back to throw his hook, and because he was open, he got caught right there at SI-17. Perfect knockout. Perfect. But for the street fighting, we want to decrease the rotation because we want to be very conservative in a street fight because it could be a self-defense situation. So instead of an over-rotation, we want to soften the rotation and probably just move the foot over. So we're lined up like that. So it's almost more like a leopard attack in Kung Fu. Nice in. And that's where you get a good piston stroke. For our overhand, for Kung Fu, we're going to replace it with, again, a monkey back fist wrap. So we're here, and it's right over the top. Now, if you catch him on the back of the nose, that's good. We're moving around like that. Okay? And again, for the street fight, we want to grab. So we're here. I grab that head, and I put the rotation in. Next, for the hook, there's not really a modification for the Kung Fu, but for the street fight, we turn it into the haymaker. So that's just a wide stroke, flail. Okay, nothing mysterious about that. I would say just try to make sure that the distance is correct, you know, because if you go flailing like this, it will work, but it's just not going to be as effective. It has a really wide range of effectiveness, though. The zone is very big. Okay, so for our short hooks, though, we can use palms or chops. Not going to be able to see that with these gloves on, but the idea here is that we're going to the side. Boom, boom. And I'll have to talk about another time the specifics of how to palm, how to chop. But the point is that it's short, or again, just a regular hook. No modification for the short hook in street fighting. For the shovel, in here we want to use claws, whether we're clawing up under the ribs or clawing in the groin. Whereas for the street fighting, I would say worry about more like headbutting. And try to get in real tight, and again, grabbing and headbutting. Boom, like that. It's not really a modification of the strike, but it is a good option. Next, for the uppercuts. So this is where it gets a little bit funky. Again, no longer being strikes like you would use in a boxing match. And Kung Fu, when you're in tight, what we're going to switch to is elbows up or elbows here. And again, we want to grab as much as possible. Grab, elbows, elbows. Okay, and you can use anything along this ridge. Okay? If you have to do the back elbow, that's fine, but it is a little bit weaker and it could get you injured. Oh yeah. The headbutt for the street fighting was this section, but in the shovel hooking, it was just more and tighter. What I mean by more and tighter for when I'm in real like this, I see this a lot. That's really weak. What we want to do is instead be able to stick it real hard like that. You feel that?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. So you want to practice getting up against the bag and just putting this along with your waist and rotating in. Boom. And you want to get fairly bone crunching power. We're regular Joes. So I'm not going to compete in this. So I don't need to be able to break the ribs on a cow. If you are going to be a boxer, then you're going to have to hit a really heavy bag. I just use 100 pound. Okay, so we covered the headbutt already. Uppercut, the long uppercut, which was the upper jab, we're going to replace with the palm. Boom. The best palm area is going to be right at that nose. A little underneath technically, but the whole nose will be good. And then for the street fighting, we're going to do what I call the leaner. So that's when you're in tight, and then I lean back and I uppercut this way, like that. And again, I want to grab here, or lean here. So like if he goes to throw a shot and I throw this underneath. Okay, now you have to catch that on the fly, so you have to be moving, boom, and then come up. Okay, or again, leaning out of the way. You have to work on your slips and everything. All right, for the jack jaw uppercut, if you remember, it was nice and tight like that. The only thing here, modify, is hold them in place. So when you jack jaw, you twist. And then for the other, you can do nothing, or again, you can use the shoulder and come in, which is pretty dirty, but it is a street fight. Those are pretty much the main modifications that I think, if you can master this list of striking techniques, pretty much you're going to be, I'd say, in the top 97 percentile, at least. You obviously still need more stamina. You need some mass. You need to be able to defend against things. You need to be mobile. You need to be able to shift your feet around. But
these strikes are pretty much the most you're ever going to need. Now, are there more in all of Kung Fu? Oh yeah, an endless amount. And the same thing with karate, taekwondo, Muay Thai, jiu-jitsu. They all have a lot of strikes. But these are the ones that are going to make you really effective in the street. If you could, master these, you're pretty much going to be at a place where you're going to feel confident in the vast majority of situations. And as far as the stances, I don't think that there's any like better one than another. By the time we get to the shaking hands version, you're going to see like my bias is I prefer a more aggressive stance. This is a very passive aggressive stance, but it's still aggressive. This is, depending on how you do it, whether you bounce around, which is very passive, or if you're moving in and switching. The orthodox and southpaw styles can be pretty, I would say, aggressive. They are more defense-oriented, only because when boxers are in the ring with each other, you can say in their weight class, they've had relatively similar training, similar system, similar beliefs, and similar purposes, right? So there's no predator-prey dynamic from the standpoint of the fight. Of course, the individuals, they start working on each other at the conferences and things, but pretty much it's a competitive situation. It's like two bulls squaring off. All things being equal, just the better person's going to win. So they're not trying to have a more advanced fighting stance for that purpose of causing that to win. They're counting on the strikes themselves. But what I'm saying is in a street fighting or self-defense situation, you may actually, the stance itself may determine whether or not they attack you or fall back on the defensive. And the person who strikes first is probably going to be the one who wins. It depends. It does switch. I've seen a lot of reversals. I've seen a guy go from he's choking a guy out to losing a fight because he violated some of the tenets of how to finish that off. But by and large, whoever is striking is probably going to be the one who wins. And so that's why I tend to believe that a great defense comes from a really great offense. I see that with basketball teams too. I think that it's just better to have a strong offense. That isn't to say, though, that a good defense, working on keeping tight, working on your slips and your dips, isn't going to be important. It's going to be absolutely important. But if you're working on this all alone and you don't have anybody except for your bag, then you're going to have to learn a style that the defense comes from the offense. Some kind of Rocky Marciano kind of style. I guess we're probably getting to a long enough video. If you like, please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.